So they just came out June 23rd, Migration versus Craft. This is the new Thursdoid. If you guys don't know, you can always go to projectzomboid.com and you can check out the latest news. It's going to tell you, it's basically the devs like just basically talk to you about like what's coming up, and they talk about some of the problems they have, and they hint at stuff, and they also lead you to believe that they're closer than what they actually are to finishing something up. Just joking, Zomboid developers. But anyway, this is the Migration versus Craft. And there's a couple of interesting things that I found on here. First of all, there's a Steam Summer Sale. So if you guys want to play Project Zomboid but have been waiting for the sale, this is the sale. They do it about twice a year or 3 times a year. This is 33% off, which means it's going to be probably about $12. Usually it goes for about $20. It's very much worth $20. It's probably worth $40 at this point. But $12 don't suck. You know, I mean, that's for sure. Anyway, hello survivors. Today marks the beginning of one of the most significant and important periods in modern world's social and religious calendar, the Steam Summer Sale. Because of this, you existing survivors will no doubt get a little swamped with all the fresh meat turning up for the PZ grinder. The Zomboid community has always been amazing in terms of supporting new players, and this time won't be any different, but our tech and support teams will be working flat out most likely. As such, we just thought we'd say that entirely fictitious and non-existent bonus spiffo points will be available for those who jump into threads to give advice or survival tips to survivors fresh to the Nox event. So there you go. If you can get the 4-pack, it's worth it. Exactly. It's a donkey carrot stick news site. Yeah, right? It is. It kind of is. But that's all right. That's all right. I mean, because, you know, they have these plans, and it comes out. At least they're not like leading you on and not like delivering. You know, when they do deliver, it's a big thing. Patch 41.72. We're at like 41.71 right now. We're still working on the next update to build 41, which we are hoping to release to an unstable beta as soon as we possibly can. The holdup is due to us wanting to smooth out MP multiplayer issues that arise when driving alongside or in the same car as players with a far higher or lower ping than yourself. It becomes a very stop-start and quite unplayable. I haven't run into that. I think it's a very much a random use case, right? These are essentially the edge case. Yeah, edge cases, they call it. Ramifications of the necessary decision we made to remove physics calculations from the server, but there are a lot of people playing PZ these days, so edge cases aren't an inconsiderable number of players. Yeah, I haven't run into any of those problems. But then again, I play on a U.S. server with people, and most of the time I don't play with anybody on the multiplayer because I don't know. I don't know what the reason why, but I don't. The multiplayer team has put up a lot of work into improving this over the past 2 weeks, and as soon as we've had a successful internal test with our latest changes, we'll feel in position to punt the build out onto unstable. Unstable, you guys, is I will back up my save branch just in case some of you guys that might not know. That's basically we're on like the stable branch. And I just kind of live there now. I used to be on the backup my save, but it's not that big of a deal. Especially the changes are usually pretty minor right now. A top line of major changes in 41.72 includes fellow players optionally visible on the in-game map, which I'm not sure if I like. Basically, what that's going to mean is if the server settings allow you to do it, you can actually see. I guess it's going to show you little dots in your map, on your Zomboid map, is for where people are, which I don't know. I don't know if I like that or not, especially if you're on a PvP server, right? New sound effects and a new music track, polished emotes, and a new way for players to be able to identify exactly which mods are misbehaving when they throw errors. That is cool because errors come and go. We don't get a lot of errors because I've been playing this for so long. I kind of have mods that I know that are reliable, and I know a lot of the modders, so I know who to choose as far as like what to package in. And luckily for me, even the ones that I don't choose, I haven't had any break on me yet. Also, an admin brush tool letting server chiefs paint items and walls, etc., into an ongoing game, and reams of small bug issues. So that's really good for those of you that have multiplayer servers. KPK, who's an admin for my server, he can actually do things that can make things more fun. Additions that have gone in over the last 2 weeks also include a huge amount of polish to the game's food and recipes, which I haven't seen yet. I haven't really been. No, granted, we play with like really hard settings. Filling in illogical gaps, expanding recipes, making foodstuffs previously absent from food crafting part of the system, and make sure that you can no longer store a football in a toaster, which is probably a good thing. Footballs do not fit in toasters. They just don't. I played it on a 1050 Ti. I call BS. Are you guys telling me Zomboid will run on a 1060? Damn, what? It should run, Gabriel Costa. It should run. You should be all right. Like, why won't it run on a goddamn GTX 1066 gig? Okay, so skills. The reason why, like, you guys don't need to focus so much on GPU as CPU. Project Zomboid's all like RimWorld. It's very CPU oriented. So if you have like a weak ass CPU, you might have a harder time running it than if you had if you're running a weak ass CPU next to a friggin' made from God GPU, then you're gonna have troubles running it. You really are. Depends on, but I mean, most people can run it still. It's not it doesn't take up too much CPU resources until you start to do what I do. We just like add super survivors and like an insane amount of zombies, and even then you can kind of like bring it down a little bit. You can bring it down with like by going to the options and doing things like not having a lot of blood. You can kill the blood altogether. You can kill the zoom outs. So you just bring it in closer. I think it's closer, right? Yeah, if you zoom out, it's gonna lower your FPS. But if you zoom in, it's gonna bring it in a little bit closer, and it won't affect the FPS as much. I ran it on an i2500K CPU. Yeah, a third generation IC will do high pop. There you go. So as long as you're not doing that, but you can also do like you can do like at the corpses or anything lying on the ground. You can make those disappear. All sorts of stuff to kind of make it to where it's playable for you. An improvement beneath the hood to foraging, meaning that a game will be able to recognize polygonal foraging zones on the map rather than the more inaccurate squares and rectangles it currently works with. I have no idea what that means. I'm guessing that it means that like if you're like beside the road, it's gonna register as beside the road as opposed to on. I guess. The map team are also currently gearing up to do a final export of the current Build 41 map ready for 41.72 unstable release. This will contain all the polish recently mixed into the main map, after which the team will turn to concentrate purely on mapping new areas beyond the current boundaries. There's nothing in this map update. We are primarily releasing it so that all the map bugs the community has been reporting are fixed before the team moves on to Build 42 content. But there are a few treats. Improved farms and farmsteads and readiness for 42's animals. These include scarecrows that can be dressed up in the same way as shop mannequins, which is pretty cool. I wonder if that will actually help you with your farming. Like, you know what I mean? If you don't have a scarecrow, then you have a better chance of like crops getting eaten by predators or whatnot, right? Specifically blackbirds and stuff. Blackbirds singing in the dead of night. Improved rich districts houses in Louisville, which is the reason why I really think we should go to Louisville. Various new tiles like baby cribs, heavy factory machinery, standing floor lamps, farm-related tiles, ATM machines, heavy safes, medical-related tiles, and new car wash tiles. And no, baby cribs are not a harbinger of baby Zeds, just so you know. The reason why they're not doing babies and they don't do like young adults, I guess, everybody's an adult in this game, is because they'd have to change their rating. If they had to change their rating, then suddenly less people would be able to buy it. We're now at a point at which increasingly becomes a pain keeping 41 and 42 content separate on our internal build. That's good news for us, because that means that it's getting closer and closer. I'm going to guess, and I might be wrong about this, that it'll probably come out around Christmas. That gives them about 6 more months, maybe a little bit less than 6 months to do it. Just want to point out that it has some integrated graphics card on a notebook, and it couldn't run the 3D update for Zomboid. Would crash after 5 minutes. Oh yeah, when they went from build 40 to build 41, that's when a lot of people got cut out. Before then, you could run it the same way that you could run it on a RimWorld thing. It was like one of those low res things that you could actually run it on. We won't be calling time on 41 patches anytime soon. Super soon. We'll leave it to polished and stable, but we're certainly now well on our way to flipping the switch and working purely on Build 42 content. Like I said, I think it's going to come out a lot quicker than we think. I think it maybe maybe around Christmas. That's what I'm going to guess. 6 months. 42 content. Here we go. We haven't spotlighted much from the Build 42 recently, partly because one of its primary coders has been seriously ill, and partly because a lot of what's been done recently isn't super visual yet. However, if you'll forgive the primarily textual blog, here are a few updates on what's been happening. First, from our newly healthy Turbo, who is responsible for a crafting update. This is going to be really cool, y'all. This is going to be really cool, and I'm fanboying this, but I really can't wait for this to come out, because what they're going to do. The new craft update introduces a good bunch of new professions, new items, crafting trees, and professional workstations, as well as some other changes to how the game code creates and records things. That's going to be really fucking cool, because what that means is that that if you're going to be a carpenter, that you might not do so well as an electrician, and vice versa. I imagine that means it's going to give more room for books. So the books stuff will expand. To explain what I'm currently working on and why I'll focus on a few aspects of the update. Crafted items that have more RPG-like variable attributes that are based on the crafter's skill, and stats of input items that may also influence the attributes of a final output item. Both of those are really, really freaking cool. It basically means that if you're a skilled artisan, is that an artisan? Would that be like a carpenter or something, right? And you make something with your skill, then it's going to be naturally better. It's going to be really cool for multiplayer. Kind of interesting to see what will happen with single player, because like when you're a single player, you tend to like stack stuff, right? Like you're a metal worker one day, and then you're a electrician the next, or whatever. So as an example, we are currently working on crafting that will occur deep into the apocalypse. So a blacksmith may be making a hammer, which requires a wooden tool handle and hammerhead as the input. The wooden tool handle may have a quality and condition attribute with values that are based on the skill of the carpenter who made it, and perhaps the quality of the wood used by them. Likewise, the hammerhead may have similar attributes based on the skills of the blacksmith who made it and the attributes of the ore iron used in the craft. What's really important about this is that what it's going to lead into is that you're going to be able to start a world 50 years from now. You know what I mean? 50 years after the zombie apocalypse, where cars aren't a thing, and hopefully they'll have horses and stuff. I don't know if they're going to implement it. Everything that I've seen has been like deer and things like that. But hopefully, maybe they might have horses where you can actually do stuff like attach a horse and buggy and like romp around Knox County, right? Mixed into this, we have to take into account aspects such as skill levels of the crafter, and also taking a random factor so that not everything produces of uniform quality. The attribute system I'm currently working on should help these kinds of things, and it will not only be used for the new stuff in 42's crafting update, but we'll be able to refactor things currently in the game's existing crafting systems to work with it all really easily. Lastly, a simple use case example, and this is an example, not a promise of items inclusion. Consider a shotgun item that can be crafted with attributes like damage, range, and condition based on the skills of the player who's been upgrading, improving, and caring for it. The shotgun is then crafted into a new shotgun trap item where the attributes of the original shotgun are copied over. The trap item is placed on the world, as we call it, in an ISO object, and the attributes are once again carried over to it. The range and damage attributes are now being used for the trap's code. The trap gets triggered a few times, lowering the condition attribute. So what they're saying basically is that you're gonna build something based on your skill. Once you build it, when you put it out into the world, it's gonna slowly deteriorate, based on that stuff. Another player decides to disassemble the trap to retrieve the shotgun from it, and the newly instanced shotgun item copies the attributes from the trap, and we end up with the correct damage and range values as it was originally crafted with. However, it now has the lowered condition due to its activity while it's being used in the trap. So if somebody steals your shit, right? That's basically, if somebody steals your shit, then you pick it up, then suddenly you have a shotgun, but it's not. It could be a crappy shotgun. It could be a well-made shotgun in the beginning, but because it has been used in this trap, it's gonna reduce in quality. All right, so here's the stuff that I've been looking at. Okay, so animos, or is it animals? Animals. Le animo. Or as us dumb Americans call it, animals. RJ is busy working on animals. Okay, so everyone that's outside of your current surroundings in PC don't really exist. It exists as a meta. It isn't streamed in, and the game calculates hordes moving around in distant places. That's the whole thing of like a reason why you can set fire in one area, walk away, and come back like 10 days later and it's still on fire. It's because it doesn't, once you leave an area, it forgets stuff. And that's the reason why they're able you're able to like, I mean, trying to navigate this whole CPU thing by adding more stuff in is going to be kind of difficult. This is how they're dealing with that. For animals, however, this needs to change somewhat. You need to be able to travel the distance of the map, but for the game to still remember things about them that don't matter for shambling zombies. Animals need to age, eat, and drink. If you leave them too long, they can't be in perfect condition when you get back. They most likely need to be dead. Not only are there lots of, they most likely need to be dead. So not only are there lots of things to consider with the animal, but there could also be a lot of them on the map. Although we're not 100% on our final list, we have models for rats, for squirrels, larger birds, deer, and domesticated animals. So we're going to get our dogs, baby. I'm excited about that. So even though the game knows everything about them and their movement, there's a risk that when they're properly streamed, it might get too intensive for the CPU. To avoid this, I have coded it so that their stats, hunger, thirst, age, etc., are updated every in-game hour. So in other words, if you exit a game, it might not have stored your stats for that game, I guess. I don't know. Realistically, you'll likely only have 1 or 2 cows, but if you want to breed rats for some inexplicable reason, you could end up with a ton of them. We don't want players with 100 plus animals having their stats updated every tick, or things could melt. As such, animals won't be updated real time when they're off screen, except for animals in a migration path, which they're going to talk about here in a second, but they'll update themselves once more returns to them. Once you or anyone else returns to them, so be sure to fill up their breeding trough before you head out on a loot run. So they're going to do migrations, which is kind of a cool concept for deer especially. I imagine that would be for other ones too. We don't want wild animals to always spawn in the same place, so for creatures like deer, we need to have them follow a set path, as they usually do in real life. This is done through additions that Tim has made to World Z, and where we can simply draw all the paths that the animals could take, with nodes all along where they can eat, drink, etc. It'll be up to the player to try to understand and learn these paths, so you'll know where you could find your animals to hunt. We can also perhaps provide lootable items that can mark up rough hunting trails on your in-game map too. This aspect of animals will be updated in the meta though, as animals need to always be on the move, and some animal paths will cross with others, meaning that a group of deer could decide to change its path if it chooses to. A deer group will contain all relevant members of the deer family. If you kill the buck in a deer group, you won't have fawns for quite some time until they find another buck to add to their game. So technically, I guess you could make all animals extinct by doing this if you aren't real careful. Imagine with multiplayer, that might be a kind of a pain in the ass. As such, it'll be important for players to recognize what animals they should kill, which are still too young, which might be pregnant, etc. It's not done for Bill 42 yet, but we are planning tracking to an extent via the deer excrement they leave behind in its freshness, all discovered via the foraging system, which means that they probably add like maybe a scout trait or something like that, or maybe a scout occupation where you can actually like do things with hunting that you wouldn't be able to do with other things. This way, you'll start to know on your server or game which path the animals are currently on, and could easily track back to them and collect your meat. Once again, this aspect isn't 100% up for inclusion yet, but hopefully shines a light on our plans. This last little bit is they're basically hiring. They're hiring if you happen to be an animations engineer or technical wizard. You can always apply if you want. Pretty cool. Hey, Drunk, just wanted to pop in, toss your stream a like, and let you know that I shared some edited multiplayer PZ content on your Discord. It's under the Promote Yourself section. Hey, Smoking Jim, I'll take a look at it. Thank you very much. Thank you for popping in, too. Give me a dog to fetch them tree branches. That would be cool. What about cats? What about cats, Triple G? Maybe they'll give you cats. You don't even play the game. You just hang out with us. Do you play the game? Yeah, so that's pretty much what they're doing for this week. And I got to be honest with you. Bill 42 is going to come, and it's going to be pretty exciting. I think that the Project Zomboid team has done a really good job up to this point. And I mean, I trust that it's going to be the crafting and the RPG elements is going to be a game changer in terms of like what you can choose and what you can, especially like, you know, I mean, right now with single player or even multiplayer, you know, if you want to be an electrician, it's just a matter of like, you know, dismantling a bunch of watches and you're an electrician, right? With this, I think that it's going to like change things in the fact that if you're primarily, say, like a fighter and you're just going to be dumb as hell when it comes to electronics, it's going to take you a long time to do it. And anything, in my opinion, anything that slows the early game down is a good thing. Burning bags of poop on safe house doorsteps. There you go. They're really putting some thought into this. The creator sounds like a perfectionist. Lemmy is really like very much that's the reason why there's like so long between like these major updates is because he's very this is his baby, you know. And for a lot of these guys, RJ and those people, it's like their baby. So they take things personally when you don't like things, which, you know, I know some of you guys have probably been banned from you know, the Steam talks, you know, this discussion groups or whatever. They take things really personally when you're really negative about it, and they fret over this. When 42 comes out, there'll be a lot of hand wringing and all sorts of stuff from the developers because they'll be worried about what people will think. They'll be worried about like how it'll integrate, all that stuff. Triple G is the current leader on the Last Man Standing Challenge, Drunk. He's quietly been clearing the whole damn map between Muldrow and Rosewood. I knew it. A timeshare PC. I use it only in the summer. They are just making the game good, and I love it. It's very nice. Very nice. Well, that's the update right there. I'd love to see what you guys think, and if you guys are watching this on a VOD, leave a comment. Tell me what you think. And, you know, I mean, honestly, let me know what you think as far as that stuff. But I think we're done here, man.